Welcome to Speed Talk Live, which isn't really live, but a poorly produced podcast where we talk about NASCAR and all things racing. And occasionally we have a special guest or two, when we can get them to show up. Sit down, strap in, pull those belts tight. Speed Talk Live is on the air.
Pace car is in. Green flag, green flag, green flag.
Welcome, everybody. Here we are again. Another week, another edition of Speed Talk Live. I'm Greg Engel, editor-in-chief, cupscene.com. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got Michigan. We got some shenanigans going on. We got some other stuff going on. And we're going to be looking forward to Daytona, and we got a little surprise for you guys. First off, let me introduce my co-host, the associate editor, cupscene.com, Owen Johnson. What's up, pal?
Hey, Greg, doing great. Really looking forward to Daytona.
Oh yeah. Well, let's hold off on that. We'll tell them in a minute. Let's keep them in suspense. That's how you keep them listening to the end. So
okay.
If we ever get any commercials, if we ever get any sponsorship, we'll have some commercials, but we don't have that yet. Speaking of which, if you want to sponsor your product on here, we can run a banner, we can put a commercial, we can simply talk about it. So reach out, let us know. So let's talk about Michigan. Man, I love Michigan. 2 Mile Speedway, great racing, turned into a 2-day festival thanks to the rain. I said it was like your irritating little sister on Sunday. It's like your irritating little sister who sneaks in the room when you're trying to make out with someone and annoys you. Now, Owen, I don't know if you had that play. Do you have a little sister, Owen?
I do.
Oh, dude. So you know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm coming from, how they can be irritating. I mean, you love them. They're your sister. I got 2 of them. So, that's how Sunday felt to me, because the rain was like, it's going to be there. It's not coming. It is coming. Delayed the start for 2 hours. Finally got to lap 51. And here comes the rain. So we came back the next day. It was the second consecutive year that Michigan got delayed by weather. Didn't matter. It was a great race. Tyler Reddick won. But the racing throughout the pack was spectacular. I really thought Bubba Wallace was a great standout in that race. He was doing great. Obviously, Kyle Larson was doing great until he wasn't. Of course, he wrecked out and showed us that he is indeed a human being. But we went to an overtime finish because why not? That seems to be the trend. And Tyler Reddick was able to hold off William Byron and win his second race of the year. Unfortunately, Michael Jordan had already gone home, so he wasn't able to be there to celebrate that. But anytime Tyler Reddick wins, it's good. I'm happy with that. What did you think, my friend?
Yeah, definitely. He looked like he had a really fast car alongside his teammate, who unfortunately was caught up in the wreck and wasn't able to contend for the win. But once again, a driver who was out front before a late caution had to survive overtime to get the win. This time, though, Tyler Reddick didn't have to wreck 2 other drivers to do it. So we don't have to worry about that losing any eligibility or anything this time. But what we really saw was Corey LaJoie going for a scary ride with the flip midway through the race. LaJoie got alongside the number 10 of Josh Berry, made a little contact, and then shot to the left. His car got a little out of shape, which makes sense considering he's going 200 miles an hour at the time. But he turned sideways and pretty much immediately goes up and over on its roof. He continued along his roof for much of the backstretch as he scrubbed a lot of speed until he got to the grass where the car dug in and started to barrel roll. Now, it brings back, in my mind, the discussion about removing grass. Notably, for instance, Charlotte replaced its grass with some artificial turf, which was designed to make the surface a little bit smoother so cars couldn't dig in. We saw Chris Buescher have a really bad flip at that track in the past. So I spoke to Daytona track president Frank Keller earlier about his track also removing grass down the backstretch ahead of this season, and that article is up on Cup Scene now. The other thing to bring up with this track, we've talked about tires a lot this year. Midway through the race, we had some good old-fashioned tire failures with about 3 on the same lap during a pit cycle. Paul Wolfe, Joey Logano's crew chief, one of the cars involved, talked about running just the lowest pressures he could. You really have to take risks with the field this close. We have really close racing, some of the closest we've ever seen in the next-gen era of NASCAR. So all the way through the field, cars running outside the top 10 even have to be running these really low pressures, taking big risks. We're going to have to see how that develops through the playoffs.
And you know what? I thought that was so bizarre. 3 flat tires on 1 lap. I thought maybe there was a piece of debris out there or something. But to NBC's credit, Steve Letarte and them talked about the low air pressures and how that probably was the reason. And so I don't think it was any failure on Goodyear's part. I don't think there was a piece of debris out there that everybody ran over. I just think they came out of pit stops. They had the air too low and trying to make some gains, and it came back to haunt them. Now you covered the Xfinity race on Saturday, and of course, that was another flip. Talk about Kyle Sieg and his flip on Saturday.
Yeah, that was a little bit more of a typical flip than Corey LaJoie's in a way. Kyle Sieg was spun in a multi-car wreck, got tagged, and then flipped up and over on the backstretch. But even that wasn't without his problems because the roof flaps didn't really seem to deploy properly. Luckily, Sieg wasn't seriously injured, just a bit shaken up after getting out of the infield care center, which is understandable. But a lot, I think, for NASCAR to look at, both Cup and Xfinity, with the rollover risks. This is the highest speed track we're going to. I mean, Xfinity wasn't running a particularly high speed package. They were running the super speedway engine. But Cup is running 200 miles an hour at this track. These are very high speeds for these cars to be up and over, and it showed.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of interesting that they both happened in the same spot. Somebody pointed out, and I think you said Kyle Noel or somebody on the internet pointed out that the winds were blowing pretty steady down the backstretch, and that might have contributed to both. Either way, after many years of research and millions of dollars spent to keep NASCAR Cup cars from going airborne and Xfinity cars, looks like NASCAR is going to need to figure this one out for sure. And Corey LaJoie, that wasn't the second time. That was the second time this year he's been on his roof. Obviously, it happened at Talladega, but you know what? That was Dega doing Dega things. Last lap, coming down to the checker flag, all hell broke loose. This was the spring race. He ended up on his roof. So the poor guy, here he was, the second time on his roof. But, all the drivers were okay. NASCAR is going to look at it. They'll figure out what's going on. But I know you had a follow-up with the points battle that you talked about last night. This is Tuesday. So you talked about that. Let's talk about that points battle because it's not only just tight for the bubble, it's tight at the top as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've got my eye on the points battle. And like you say, tight on the top, Tyler Reddick's win, shaking up the regular season championship race. But at the bubble, it's really tight. Michigan really proved that the key to getting points is recovery, maximizing points and getting the best position possible even when things don't go your way. That was especially true for Chris Buescher. He entered 0 points above the cut line, only above it with a tiebreaker with Ross Chastain by virtue of some runner-up finishes. And he leaves 16 points above it. That's despite getting caught up in a wreck on lap 117 of 200 midway through the race. His team did a really great job of repairing the car and gambling on strategy, though he was unhappy with Todd Gilliland, who pushed him into it. But he ended up 6th after climbing up through the overtime restarts on fresh tires all the way back from 18th, I think. That means he leaves Michigan 16 points to go to the cut line, and in full, from the 4 spots available, Martin Truex leaves 77 points to the good. Ty Gibbs leaves 39. Chris Buescher, 16. Ross Chastain, 1 point over Bubba Wallace, who's just 1 point below. Now, below that, 18th, Kyle Busch. He's kind of out of range of points. But there's 5 drivers in range of 4 spots right now. But be warned, a new winner automatically gets a berth, assuming NASCAR doesn't take away its automatic playoff eligibility like they did for Dillon. And I feel like no track on this time of the schedule is better for a new winner than Daytona, which is always unpredictable.
And I love where they put it on the schedule now. Either it sets the playoffs, or this year because of the Olympic break, they're going to we're going to go to set it at Darlington. We're going to talk about my predictions and your predictions for Daytona, but wrapping up a couple things from Michigan. The start times. People were complaining. I hate this because people were complaining about the start times. Had we started at noon, had we started at 1 o'clock, we could have got the race in. Here's the thing, you guys. This was only the second postponement of the year. The first one was the Daytona 500. I was there for that. I came back on a Monday night, for God's sakes, and we ran the Xfinity race after the Cup race, and I got home at like 0:30. But it was only the second postponement of the year. That's one. The other thing is, we have to grow this sport. And one of the biggest things they've done to grow this sport is to get it to more viewers as possible. Sure, we would like every seat in the track to be filled, but that's just not possible. So let's bring it to as many people as possible. In order to do that, you have to work with TV. So you got different TV times and different requirements that need to be met in order to get TV times. Look, I get it. I would like to be started a race at noon and be done, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's just not the way it is because we've got to get as many eyeballs on the sport as possible. But that's not going to matter because by the next race, people are going to be finding something else to complain about. So those that can talk about start times, that's fine. I respect that. But you know what? At the end of the day, we need to get as many eyeballs on the sport. Doesn't matter how much we complain, they're not going to change it. So I'll be there covering for whatever time they start, which Saturday night at 7:30. So we'll have to see about that. And again, we'll talk about Daytona here in a minute, but I want to catch up on some other news. Kind of a quiet announcement. AJ Allmendinger is going back to Cup in 2025. I thought it was odd for a couple reasons. Not odd that he's going back into Cup. I mean, I think that's where he belongs. I think he's definitely got the talent and got the experience to be there. But it was a single tweet from the team. There was no press release. There was no quotes. There was nothing from the team, which it was just kind of, I felt it was kind of strange in this world of PR where you announce that, your team's got new toilets, that we wouldn't have anything but a tweet. But that's the way it is. I kind of think it's odd, and it makes me wonder: was there a problem? Was there a problem with the Xfinity Series? Is there a problem with the Cups? What's going on at that team? Nobody was offered to talk to anybody. AJ did not have any media avails this weekend, so we don't know what's going on in your mind. But I know you've got some thoughts about this, Owen.
Well, I feel like I get the sense that AJ goes to the Xfinity Series looking for title contention, and he really isn't getting that from Kaulig this year. They struggled not only in the Cup Series where they've really struggled, but they struggled in the Xfinity Series. Gone are the days of being a powerhouse team that running 1, 2, 3 at Daytona, able to go set the field in the Xfinity Series all across the line. Those days are long gone, and they just haven't been performing in the Xfinity Series. So AJ Allmendinger hasn't really been able to contend for the championship like I think he'd like to. But one colleague note on this on the Daytona side is that they'll be fielding SVG this weekend at Daytona in both the Cup and Xfinity Series. Though his Cup car is, of course, prepped by Trackhouse. It'll be SVG's first experience on the Daytona Oval, hallowed ground for NASCAR. And so he's done really well in his Cup starts this season. Obviously didn't go well at Chicago, but he ran well until he ended up finding the barrier. So I expect to see strong performance from him. We'll see. He might be moving up to the Cup Series either next year or very soon. So it'll be an interesting indication of how he can hang on the drafting tracks.
A couple of sad notes, too. Scott Bloomquist, at 60 years old, died in a plane crash. There's a lot of speculation with that. I'm not going to speculate. He was a great dirt track legend, just a great guy, and 60 years old, which is about how old I am, is too young to be taken away. So, our hearts and thoughts go out to him and his family and his fans. I've met Scott on a couple of occasions. He was like a rock star, long hair flowing in the breeze. Just a great guy. Another sad note, it came out today that Stewart-Haas Racing plans to lay off as many as 323 employees when they shutter their doors. Now, some of those are going to go to the new team. And then the Xfinity, they announced that this past weekend for the Xfinity team. So some will be going there, and hopefully some will pick up some other jobs. But you hate to hear that when people are losing their jobs, but it's just a byproduct of the fact that Stewart-Haas Racing is closing. The other good news, we got good news this weekend, though. The Clash is going to the Madhouse. Yes, that's right. We knew it. I mean, we were just waiting for the official confirmation on that. Let me drink to that. We're going to Bowman Gray Stadium. Now, there's a bunch of reasons why I like this. One, we've already shown we can do it via the LA Coliseum, which is the same size. Now, in 1980, I grew up in Southern Indiana, and my dad used to take us kids to Jeffersonville Speedrome in Jeffersonville, Indiana, almost every Saturday night during their season. A lot of great racing. The Kimmel family was there. We used to see figure eights, a lot of great racing. I joined the military in 1980. My family moved to a town called Kernersville, And for those of you not familiar, it's right in between Winston-Salem and Greensboro, North Carolina, close to Bowman Gray Stadium. That being said, my dad would take my nieces and nephews when they were growing up to Bowman Gray Stadium, along with my sisters, the annoying ones. And they spent a lot of time. Their season runs from I believe April to August. So he took them there for those during the weekly series. My dad passed away in 2009, so I could not be more excited to go there as a member of the media and represent my family and the memory of my dad, who brought me a lot of great racing memories, and also to my nieces and nephews and my sisters at Bowman Gray. So I'll be honored and thrilled to be there in memory of my dad. So I'm looking forward to that. That is going to be great. Now, there's a reason they have their season from April, I think it's till October. I said August, but October. And that's because this is on February 2nd. Now, it's kind of a crapshoot in a way because the average temperature there in February is 53 degrees. I don't mind that as long as it doesn't snow and as long as we don't get a cold rain. Hell, we'll bundle up. Those grandstands are going to be packed anyway. I think it holds like 30,000. We're going to be great. We're going to be stuffed in there. So I'll wear a parka. I don't give a crap. I want to be at the bounce house. I want to, or the Madhouse. I want to be there and see that. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, the only variable is the weather, but it's 2 weeks before the Daytona 500, which is kind of the traditional spot it used to be. In LA, we had to move it back to, earlier. So give teams a time to get ready for Daytona. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think there's anything bad about it. Hell, let's try it. If we can go to the LA Coliseum and run around there, we can sure the heck go to the track that hosted the first NASCAR sanctioned race back in 1949. So I'm looking forward to that. I know you got some other highlights you want to bring up about this weekend, though, Owen.
Yeah, my highlight, which you could see during the rain delay at Michigan, was some ARCA racing at the Illinois Fairgrounds. And William Sawalich went out and won that race. He's becoming a very versatile young driver at just 17 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Although obviously he's in pretty good equipment compared to the rest of the ARCA field. But my highlight for that race was 2 women in the top 3 and 4 in the top 10. That was Isabella Robusto, Taylor Reimer, Tony Breitinger, and Amber Balkan, all putting out really good performances with Venturini Motorsports. And I think that's a new record for a NASCAR sanctioned race. So really good to have some dirt drivers primarily in that list, stepping into some full-time stock cars and driving very well. Maybe we'll see them in the NASCAR ranks sometime soon.
I hope so. I think there were good representation. And you're right. I did watch that during the rain delay. The dirt race, that was fantastic to watch. I just couldn't imagine going to that state fair and like, oh, let's go watch some stock car racing. So it was great. Loved it. Yes, I was very happy to see, 2 women in the top 3, or, the top 3 and 4 in the top 10. Just an incredible accomplishment. And Tony opened up the Kane's Chicken here at Daytona. So I'm going to have to stop by there this weekend. Speaking of Daytona, let's look ahead to Daytona. Let's get this out of the way quick, and then we'll tell you about our big surprises. So you want to pick somebody for Daytona? Well, good luck with that. Because as Owen mentioned earlier, it's a wild card track. Anybody can win. And it would not surprise me at all. But I think an angry Kyle Larson, and he wrecked out early last week and lost his top spot in the playoffs. He's no longer the regular season points leader. But I think he's going to be angry this weekend at Daytona. And an angry Kyle Larson is a dangerous Kyle Larson. If he can avoid trouble, which typically happens there, look for him to bounce back from that DNF at Michigan and come back to win. You have another pick.
I'm going to have to go with Bubba Wallace. We know he's good at the drafting tracks. He's won at Talladega, and he's right on the playoff bubble, like we mentioned. So a win would be especially valuable for him. He secured his spot in the playoffs last year on points at Daytona. He didn't get the win there, but I think he secures his spot at the same track 1 race early this year with a win.
That would be incredible. He's done so well there. And he actually looked good at Michigan last week. He ran strong all day. All right. Speaking of watching Bubba Wallace or Kyle Larson, whoever wins, both Owen and I will be at Daytona International Speedway this weekend. That's right. See this place? See this place? We're going to be there this weekend. Friday night, Saturday night. We'll be up here in the press box, or at least I'll be up here Saturday night. And then Owen, you'll probably be in the infield chasing stories. But anyway, both of us are going to be there. We're going to do this show from there, we think. I got to figure out the logistics yet, whether we're going to stay up late and do it after the race and steal the Jeff Gluck, Jordan Bianchi idea of doing a teardown and setting the media center, or if we're going to maybe do it on Saturday afternoon and maybe we'll sit out in the infield in the fan zone there and grab some fans and talk to them. Maybe we'll do it that way and have kind of an interview show. We'll also set in a place where sometimes drivers come through. Maybe we can snag a driver or two. I don't know. We got to figure that out yet, but we can learn from that because the following week we're both going to be at Darlington. So for the next two races, you got to put up with both of us. Guarantee you this. We'll be at the Tweet Up Saturday. Come see us. Come say hi. We got some swag. At least I got some swag, and I'll give you some, Owen, to give out. And we'll give you some swag. Come and say hi. Talk to us. Tell us how much you like this show or how much it sucks or whatever. And come see us. And remember this. There's a 55% chance of rain on Saturday. Okay. But welcome to Florida, boys and girls. Here we call that Saturday. Okay. I have been there some years when there's a 60% chance of rain and it's never rained. I've been there when there's a 30% chance of rain and the race rained out and we had to run it the next day. So if you're going to go, just go. Don't depend on the forecast. Just be there. Okay. And I know, Owen, you're going to be staying at the beach, right?
I'll be staying near the track, which is going to be great, but I guess I'll have to extend my stay another day just to be safe with the rain. But I'll be looking forward to it. We'll get the race in one way or another, and we'll see some great racing on the high banks.
That's what I like about the Saturday night race, by the way. If they don't get it in on Saturday, they'll just run it on Sunday, and they've done it before. So it's, you're not messing up one of your Mondays. So we'll see. We hope to see you at Daytona this coming weekend. Look for us. Hit us up on Twitter. We'll come find you if you're in the fan zone. And if we decide to do the show out there, we'll give everybody a warning. I just got to check to make sure it's okay with the powers to be so we don't get thrown out. But we appreciate it. We hope to see you this weekend. Have a great rest of your week. We will talk to you later. Thanks, everybody. See ya. Thanks for listening to Speed Talk Live. For questions or just to tell us how bad our production is or to leave other feedback, leave us a comment below. For all the latest NASCAR news, visit www.cupscene.com. Until next time, peace out and let's go racing.
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, driver.